Hello, everybody, and welcome to our webinar today. And today it's all about oxygen and our newest release 5.5. To allow other people to log in, because there are still people trying to log in, as I can see. Like always, ask us questions. Use this webinar to ask us questions directly. We are live. We are going to answer your questions if possible during this webinar. If not, we are going to contact you later on. Those questions can be asked with the chat menu on your right side. Please use this chat. It's anonymous. Nobody else can see those questions, just you and my colleague and me who can read those questions. And as I said, we're going to answer them anonymous. Yes, that's so far from my side. Yeah, there are also handouts available for download. And I would say we jump directly into the webinar. So my name is Ivica Baresic. I'm the moderator of this webinar and show today, and I'm a business developer and much more in latest days here at DEWETRON. And my colleague joining me today is Raphael Ludwig. Raphael, do you want to say something about yourself?
Hi, how are you doing? Welcome to the show.
Yes, thank you. I have to be careful, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, hi, welcome also from my side. My name is Raphael. I am a product application engineer and I am going to do the technical part of the webinar, and I would like to present you the most important new features and improvements of our latest release, Oxygen 5.5.
Perfect, Raphael. And I think we should jump directly into the topics. And the first topics
Absolutely.
are like topics regarding applications. And the very first application is going to be everything about video and external video implementation and the possibility to load and show external videos. Can you show us this amazing new feature?
Yes, for sure. As you said, one of the major topics we enhanced so far during the 5.5 development was the video support of Oxygen. At first, we have added a new possibility to import videos into the software, into Oxygen during the analysis, during the data analysis. The application and the use case behind that is the following: that there are many applications using high-speed cameras for video data acquisition in parallel to sensor data acquisition. There are many different applications where high-speed cameras are used. For example, when something falls down somewhere, and the shock and the displacement of the device in the test shall be analyzed. Not only the sensor data is important here, but also the video data is important here as well. And therefore, for example, high-speed cameras are used. And the problem here is that the data rate of the high-speed camera is so high, it cannot be transferred from the camera to the PC during the measurement, but it can be only stored to the RAM, which is available on the camera itself. And this video can be exported later on when the camera data acquisition is finished, and this video can be afterwards loaded into Oxygen and synchronized to the sensor data in Oxygen to analyze and to review the sensor data in parallel with the video data. And how that is working to import the external video into the software, I would like to show you this feature quickly. Here on my screen, you already can see an Oxygen data file where you can see a sensor signal from an acceleration sensor. So some acceleration and some vibration was measured here. And I will now import the video corresponding to the sensor data and show you how that is working. At first, you have to press the plus button here, and then you can select the external video here. And then you can search for the path of your video file. It's just opening the Windows dialog here on my different window. I will quickly show you that and move it here. And now I can select the video file which I want to load, which is, for the demonstration, this file here. And the only thing I have to specify now is the original frame rate with which the video was acquired. And in this case, the video frame rate was 5,000 frames per second. So enter it here, press the add button, and then we have an additional video channel here, which is corresponding to the video data and including the video data. And I will now also add this video to the measurement screen, just drag and drop the channel here to the screen. And then you have a video player with an additional timeline and some cursors for time alignment down here. And the timeline and these cursors here are required for aligning the timeline of the video data and the timeline on the sensor data to be sure that the video data and the sensor data are then replayed time synchronously in the software. And this is working in the following way. I am now pressing the Align with Cursor button to allow the video to jump to the actual cursor position here. And there you can already see the first picture of the video. And I will now zoom in here a little bit and put the cursor, the orange cursor here, to the very beginning where the vibration and the acceleration here was measured, which is now my absolute instant of time for the data synchronization. And additionally, I will now use these cursors here to align the video to the sensor data very accurately. I just have to move it a little bit in the past, and you should now, now you see something falling down here. And when the scan here is hitting the surface here, this is my absolute instant of time of synchronization where the acceleration was measured, which is, oh, no, that's too much. I go back a little bit in time and then align it frame by frame. And this is the instant of time where my video data absolutely corresponds to the sensor data. So I have now determined the offset between the sensor data timeline and the video data timeline manually. But if you know this difference in time, you don't necessarily need to use the cursors here, but you can go back here to the measurement, to the channel list, and directly enter the start offset between the video data and the sensor data here in this menu. And this was the time shift I now determined manually. But if this time offset is known, you can directly input it there as well. And for replaying the sensor and the video data and to see something in time, you can also adjust the playback speed because high-speed videos are recorded very fast, as the name is saying, and the real-time replay is very often too fast. And so you can also reduce the playback speed, for example, to 1/100, so to 1%. And then you can press the play button and see what is happening here and how the can here is breaking. And this is the procedure how to load an externally created video into the software and how to manually adjust the timeline between the sensor and the video data.
Perfect. And in addition to all of that, it was asked very often to export the video and the measurement as a video itself, and that feature was implemented as well now.
Exactly, because in the end, for creating a report, normally a video or a screen capture of the sensor data and the video data replayed in parallel is normally the typical way of reporting, doing the reporting for such tests. And this can be done here in the measurement screens menu by the save screen as video file. You have now the possibility to export either the entire measurement from start to the end or only the specific region of the selected recorder into a video file. So, and this is not in general, not really more or less than a screen capture of my measurement. And you can also adjust the playback speed here, for example, to 1%, and also adjust the video resolution and the frame rate of the exported video. And in the end, you just need to click generate video, and this creates a recording in the screen capture of my measurement screen. And while the video here is generated and exported, I am going to search for my export directory and show you the result afterwards when the export is finished now in a couple of moments.
Perfect. Support formats are the typical ones.
Supported formats for importing the video into the software are AVI, uncompressed AVI, MKV formats with the VP8 and H.264 compression, and MP4 video files with H.264 compression.
Okay.
Thanks for asking that. And here in the meantime, the export is finished. And here you can see the exported screen capture from my measurement when it is loaded as an MKV file. And this is afterwards, in the end, the report and the typical procedure of how to report the measurement data for such tests.
Perfect. You can share like this analysis with customers, colleagues, just very quickly. They don't need to install any kind of measurement software from DEWETRON if necessary, and if it has to be quick. So that's really nice. And let's stay at this first application a little bit longer. We had some improvements regarding our online video cameras. So let's talk about what possibilities or what did change with our Gig E cameras.
Exactly. We also have a video cameras for live video measurement in oxygen in our portfolio. And there have been some adjustment and some enhancements as well. The first thing is that the required bandwidth for transferring the video from the camera into the software has been reduced significantly by approximately 50%. So you can now transfer approximately the double amount of data than before. And this was made by using a so-called Bayer format as the standard format for transferring the data from the camera into the software. Next, for rendering the video in the software, H.264 encoder is now used per default. And the big advantage here is that this encoder can be rendered and is rendered on a separate chip, which is available on the CPU of the system. And this has the great advantage that the video rendering and the video data acquisition does not block unnecessarily the CPU, but is rendered separately. And so you can use your CPU and only use your CPU for the sensor data acquisition itself and not for the video data acquisition. Additionally, you can now connect several cameras to different Ethernet ports of your system. In the past, there was the limitation when you use several cameras in parallel for one measurement. All of them have been connected to one and the same Ethernet port on your system via a switch. This is now also obsolete. You can connect two cameras to two different Ethernet ports if you have them available on your system. And last but not least, these enhancements and these optimizations lead to the fact that our DEWECAM 50 HD camera, which can acquire pictures in full HD resolution with up to 50 frames per second, can now stream all the data for the full data rate, so 50 frames per second at full HD resolution in real time from your camera into your software. This is now supported as well.
So that's definitely an improvement and enhancement compared to our previous versions of Oxygen. So that's very nice. And I think that's all about video improvements that we had for the application, like if you need to have external videos or video recording at all within Oxygen. So let's talk about the other application that got a huge impact in this release, and that's again our power option that we got for recording or to measure electrical power. And yeah, we had a feature asked very often regarding power, because no other power analyzers I think is possible to do it, and we implemented it yet. So can you tell us what it is? So can you tell us what it is? And I mean, we have been able, I think we have been able to do it previously as well, but very complicated or formulas. And now we,
right.
yeah.
Right. But first things first.
Okay.
The feature we are talking about is the so-called DQ analysis. The mathematical procedure and the mathematical transformation behind is called the Park-Clark transformation. Let me quickly explain what that is. So the DQ analysis or the Park-Clark transformation transforms the voltages or the currents from a three-phase system, so from a three-dimensional system into a two-dimensional system, the so-called DQ system. Therefore, this transformation is also called DQ analysis. So you transform your three-dimensional parameters in a two-dimensional coordinate system. And this two-dimensional DQ coordinate system now rotates with the rotor of your rotating machine. And this leads to the fact that the DQ coordinate system is now a linear coordinate system and no moving coordinate system anymore. And the reason behind that is the following, that the DQ currents and the DQ voltages are very often and frequently used for designing control parameters for inverters, which then control the behavior of your synchronous machine. And that's the reason why, and the reason for requiring these components for controlling and designing control characteristics for inverters, that's the reason why they are so important. And we can now do that online during the measurement by the so-called DQ analysis plugin, which is available when you use the Oxygen Power Advanced option. You can find this here in the DQ section. And the only additional thing you have to acquire during the measurement is an angle measurement from your rotating machine with an angle from 0 to 360 degree. And you additionally have to add the number of pole pairs, which is normally known when you're measuring the electrical power of an electrical machine. And the let's say the difficult thing during this analysis is to determine the offset between your electrical angle and your mechanical angle. This offset needs to be known to be able to do the DQ analysis accurately and properly. And this angle can be detected automatically in the software. And this fact makes it possible that we are able to determine the DQ parameters online, whereas other competitors also provide a DQ analysis option, but they are only able to determine the DQ parameters offline during the data analysis and post-processing, but not online, because it is not that easily possible to determine the offset during the measurement. And the output parameters of the DQ analysis can be found here in the mechanical section of your channel list, which is the D voltage, the Q voltage, and the D current, and the so-called Q current. So you get 4 output parameters when you are applying the DQ analysis to your measurement and to your test. Ivica, I cannot hear you anymore. Where are you?
Here is my microphone again. So microphone is back online again. New computer,
Okay.
new problems. You know how it
Don't
is.
make me nervous now.
Yeah. So DQ analysis, a huge impact to our power measurement and power function and power analyzer in the software. And we also improved, let's stay at this application a little bit further. We also improved things regarding harmonics. And yeah.
Right. At first, we improved and we added a new possibility to visualize the harmonics. Therefore, our power instrument, which is normally and hopefully known to anybody who's dealing with the oxygen power option, has received 3 new tabs here on the upper right-hand side, which display the amplitude in RMS and percent of your harmonics from the 0 order, from the DC component up to the maximum order. As I said, the RMS amplitude and the relative amplitude, as well as the phase shift between the harmonics for each individual and each single phase. This page here is for the voltage harmonic. Additionally, there's a second page for the current harmonics, and last but not least, there's a last page for the power harmonics. So you have a very a big and intuitive and functional overview about all your harmonics values now. Yeah, that's the first option for the visualization of the harmonics. Additionally, new harmonics calculation were added to the software as well, and that are the line harmonics for the voltage. So far, the harmonics were always calculated referring from the line to the neutral line. But for analyzing voltage harmonics, the line harmonics, so the harmonics from line 1 to line 2, from line 2 to 3, and from line 3 to 1 are also of interest. And they are now also calculated automatically, and also the THD, so the total harmonic distortion from line to line, is also calculated automatically and available as a separate channel here in the channel list. And now you can also visualize them here. So you see the harmonics from line 1 to line 2 here, line 2 to 3 here, and the harmonics from line 3 to line 1 here, including the corresponding total harmonic distortion available here in this digital instrument. So that was added as well to the power advanced option.
So we targeted two applications in this release, and that was power and the Q analysis and the harmonics. To go deeper within harmonics, and we also add those external video functions and video improvements. But let's talk now about overall changes and within the measurement software of oxygen, which are not connected to any specific application, but are going to improve the overall user experience. And here and there, it is necessary to leave a system somewhere in the field, and it was requested very often to have some kind of password safety security possibilities, and that got within Oxygen now as well.
Yeah, the requirement there was to have some protection possibility to avoid unwanted changes in your measurement setup, or to randomly stop the data acquisition system from anybody who might not be allowed to stop the measurement system from data recording because he's not knowing what or he might not know what he's doing there. Therefore, we have one additional security option added to the software, which allows to lock certain settings in your setup file from unwanted changes. The types of the settings that can be locked can be selected here. So you can lock your channel list settings against unwanted changes. You can lock your recording stop and recording pause with a password by unwanted changes. You can lock the measurement screen design, so the screen arrangement, against unwanted changes. You can also lock the safe setup option against unwanted changes, and also the recording settings. You just have to select the type of settings you want to protect, and then you go to set modify password and you enter a password, which is then used for protecting these items in your setup. And when this is done and all the parameters are locked here, you can now, for example, still have a look at the channel list and check the parameters which are set, but it is not possible to change them anymore. When you want to change them, you have to unlock the security option here again, and then you can again enter the channel list and do the changes here as well, and enter these menus here. Additionally, the recording stop is locked, so when you start the recording, everything is fine. But as soon as you want to stop the recording and press the stop button, the password which was used and selected has to be entered before the measurement is really stopped, to protect the stop recording again unwanted usage. Let's say it like that. Additionally, the Design mode is also locked, so you cannot enter the design mode anymore and not rearrange your instruments or change the channel assignment to the instruments anymore without entering a password. The safe setup option is also locked against the password to avoid overwriting potential setups if that is not desired. And the last thing which is also locked, or which can be locked by a password, are the recording settings. So all the options available here in the recording mode sections, or in general in the trigger events menu, can be locked. And also the multi-file options and the data storing options in general here can be logged with a password. And this is all done here. And these settings, the options which you logged in your setup, are then automatically applied when you load the specific setup. And then after loading your setup, everything which has to be locked and protected is protected, and nothing can be changed without authorization and without entering the password before.
Okay, perfect. So this is nice to have as a feature if you have to leave it somewhere in the field, or if people are working with the system, reading data out of the system, and who should not be able to just like that change anything on the system. So this is good to know that this feature is now included. Further topics would be new export formats are available now.
Yes. In the last release, 2 additional export formats were implemented due to requests by different customers. Ivica, one of the formats was requested by you, which is
Yes.
the diadem DAT format. So the data export into the DAT format for the National Instruments diadem software. And the second format which was requested is the so-called NT format for the Dynaworks software package. So yeah, that's more or less everything I can say here. It doesn't really make sense to show you that, but those who need it now know that they are included.
They're going to be happy, and I can tell you the customer who needs, for example, the diadem export is very happy, and works perfectly fine. Yeah. Plugin usage. We did some improvements for the plugin user, sort of plugin interface as well. The so-called Oxygen SDK. For those who don't know what this is, Oxygen SDK is a plugin interface where self-made plugins can be built by customers, and we ourselves use that interface as well to program plugins, and we did an improvement there as well.
Exactly. You already explained very well what the SDK and the plugin interface is used for. The option to make user programmed plugins available during offline for offline usage, so for usage during the data analysis, is now added as well. So you can enable a plugin and activate the plugin for offline usage during the data analysis in the play mode. And this now also has the effect that the 2 plugins for A-Ring signal decoding and for mil standard 1553 signal decoding can now also be used offline, because these plugins were also written by us by using the Oxygen SDK. And as soon as the A-Ring and the mil standard messages have been decoded, for those who don't know A-Ring and mil standard messages, this is an avionic bus for in-flight systems to communicate with each other. More or less the CAN bus in the avionic industries, more or less, you can say it like that. And the data is transferred in octal numbers. And as soon as these A-Ring messages or these mil messages are stored during the measurement, you can also decode them now offline during the data analysis and your data post-processing process.
Okay, perfect. We had also improvements to our remote control interface, so it has nothing to do with the plugin anymore. So that was that topic, but the remote control interface, Skippy, got improvement as well.
Yes, mainly 2 very important enhancements have been added to the Skippy interface. I'm now in the meantime just opening a small VI to control my software instance over Skippy commands and connecting here. You can now see I'm connected via Skippy to my Oxygen instance. And now you have the possibility to add also header data over Skippy commands. And this is working. So these commands have been added to the interface, and to add some headers, you can use the command header add and then generate and then specify the name of the header, for example, webinar, and then include also the description of the header like hello Ivica. And when I'm pressing now OK, this header is now added in the software. And I can also set and change existing headers. For example, I can now say the webinar header should not include hello Ivica anymore, but for example, should now include hello world. And when I'm sending this command, the description is changing to hello world. And I can also query the header description content of a certain header with the command header get. And then when I'm executing this command, my response will be the header description, which is included here. And so the header data is now also accessible via and can be edited and queried with Skippy commands. That's the first thing. And when you are transferring the data to a testbed, you can now also query the synchronization state of your system when you're using an external synchronization signal with the command sync state. And when you execute this, I am now getting the information unavailable because I'm not using an external sync. But when you're using an external sync, you will get the information if your system is synced or waiting for being synchronized, or if the system is out of sync. This can be queried now. This information can also be queried with header with Skippy commands.
Okay. We did some further user experience changes to the Oxygen as well, and one is the definition or the possibility within the name composer.
Yeah, the so-called file name composer here. In the past, the file name for your measurement files was always a prefix, which could be freely defined with the date and time added automatically of your measurement start. This had the big advantage that you could never overwrite an existing measurement because all the file names were unique. And this was the big advantage, but also some disadvantages thereby occurred because customers were very limited in designing their own measurement data file names. And now we added a file name composer, which makes it completely open and arbitrarily to the user to design the file name. For example, you can just add a certain prefix. For example, you can also see here now the resulting file name, which is only called test measurement without any time or without any date and time information. But you can now also select here from different appendixes, like for example, the time of the measurement start, or also the date of the measurement start. And you can also now add a local counter, which always increments when a measurement is started again. And these parameters can arbitrarily just drag and drop here into this menu, into this window, and then you can freely define your measurement file name with the so-called file name composer.
Perfect. This is making the data file name so much more, adjustable for customer, flexible for customers, depending on how they use the file names and how they want to store it. So that's really nice. The thing I love most in Oxygen upgrades and updates is the user interface improvements, the so-called minor improvements, but which are such a huge impact for me. And if I present the Oxygen to customers or potential partners, and the so small changes which are just having a huge impact in your daily work with Oxygen, and we had some of those. And can you show show us those, and the recorder got a huge upgrade.
Yeah, in the meantime, I also already added a recorder to a new page. There were made several improvements. At first, it is not possible to adjust the line width of your signals in the recorder with this menu here. Additionally, you can specify how many labels on the x-axis shall be displayed. If they shall be displayed the default number of labels or less, you see here now they are less, or as the name is saying, or when you need more, just select more, and then you have very much X-tag labels here, so just according to your needs. And one of my favorite additions now is the so-called show data label option. When you activate this option, you have now a mouse over menu, which is always showing you the measurement value and your instant of time where your cursor currently is, and move around and have a very quick overview about your measurement signals. And last but not least, you can now also link several recorders that are on one single page. You can activate this here with this link mode option and say link instrument on page. And when you now have several recorders on one different page, and they are linked, the time axis and the timeline of all of them is linked together. And when I'm zooming in or out with the mouse wheel, or also here with the box zoom, the timeline is of several recorders on the same page is always linked together.
And was it this release when the design grid got smaller as well?
Yeah, right. I forgot completely to mention this as well. Yes.
Yes, because
also
that's such
also the grid size, right? Thanks for reminding me on this one. Also, the grid size here of the design mode was optimized, and you have now a better granularity and a smaller grid, so you can have more degrees of freedom on designing your measurement screen, right? I think that was requested by you as well, wasn't it?
Yes, and I was like, you are going to mention it, aren't you?
Yeah, the reason is because I'm working with the release candidates in such a long time, it already became normal to me, and I didn't really recognize it anymore.
I believe you that,
Thanks for reminding me on this one.
Yeah.
Another small improvement is the possibility to now change the width of the sidebars here. They can be now also freely defined. And last but not least, when you're using the PDF reporting tool in Oxygen, we have now also the possibility to change the text size here of your recorder labels and of your recorder, the signal names in your recorder here with this text size option here, because the readability was sometimes pretty hard. And with this option and with this degree of freedom, it will become more easy and more better to read the names here on this axis and to see the channel assignment on the recorders here. So I think that were the most important minor changes, unless you remind me of having forgotten one.
I can't think of one, because as you said, that they are called minor changes, and they are for me my personal major changes every time, which I love so much when I see a new release, and that's the first thing I test, because that's the thing you work so often with, and you're just happy if those things get better and better, and it's every time it's getting better and better. That's amazing. Now at the end, since we're at the end of the webinar, can you give us a hint or an outlook in the future? What's going to happen? What's on the roadmap for the next releases or release?
Yes, basically we will have already 2 releases in the next time, because our next point release 551 will be by the end of April or beginning of March, which will now include the full functionality and the full hardware support for the Trion A outboard, which will also be released in May, which is an analog output board based on Trion for our Trion 3 series, for our Devil 3 series, based on the PXI Express interface. And the option to replay data files via the analog output will be added to the 5.5.1 release. During the planning, it already should have become available in 5.5, but the development was more effort than expected, and that's the reason why we decided to shift it in the point release. And this file replay or stream output option will be added to the 5.5.1 release end of April or beginning of March. And as always, after 3 months, by the end of June, we will have a new release 5.6, where we will implement the TAT support, so for reading out the trans-electronic data sheets from sensors with oxygen. We will have an own and separate CPAD setup plugin in Oxygen. Some SDK adjustments will be made for making CAN channels also available in the Oxygen SDK. And last but not least, Ivica, I think that was also one feature you requested, very powerful, which is the support of loading and decoding CAN signals with AR XML files and not only DBC files anymore.
Yes, very important for automotive customers and partners who are getting more and more RM XML files to decode CAN messages. I'm so excited regarding TATs. That's just amazing. I can't wait for that feature to get online within Oxygen. It's so often requested. And yeah, thank you for this outreach. I can't wait for the next webinar or for the webinar regarding 5.6 to have you hopefully again on here on the screen and talk with you about the next upgrades. To all our customers and partners now watching, install if you have Oxygen installed the license version 5, please upgrade to these new functions. They are so amazing. You will be happy to use them. If you have problems, just contact our support or our service. We are there for you. Again, if you have questions regarding Oxygen or any other questions, contact me and my colleagues. I see we don't have any questions, Raphael, just to let you know. So there have no live questions during this webinar. So if you have questions afterward, our contact data is available on our homepage or on social media. Please contact us. Let us know what you like or what you did not like with this webinar, or if you have questions regarding Oxygen, let us know. We are there for you. Stay online a couple of seconds just to answer 1 or 2 questions regarding webinar and what we should improve. Thank you for watching and see you at the next webinars. I hope to see you again. Thank you and bye-bye.
Thanks for watching also from my side. Bye-bye. Take care.